We have a very key discussion now, and this is basically called Teaching and Learning Post-Pandemic is Hyflex Model of Future. So Hyflex is a new term that's emerged in recent months. It's a mixture of hybrid and flexible. So now it's inevitable that all, all schools and educational institutions will follow a hybrid or a blended model of learning in the future, where even the earlier sessions we discussed, it cannot be completely in person or cannot be completely virtual anymore. And obviously, when you are talking of such a hybrid or blended learning model, there has to be quite a lot of flexibility involved there. So this is the Hyflex model, and for the panel discussion, I would like to now call on stage the panelists who are involved. So I would welcome Mr. Kunal Mehra, India Country Head, Crimson Education. Next we have Dr. Sebastian PG, Principal of Crest Academy, CBSE School of Bangalore. Round of applause for Dr. Sebastian. We have with us Mr. Bhushan Kumar, Regional School Director, North Zealand Limited. A round of applause for Mr. Bhushan Kumar. We have with us Dan Curry, Director and Principal, Vega Schools, Gurgaon. Welcome to the show, Dan. We have with us Dr. S.K. Rathore, Founder, Chairman and Managing Director of Sanford Group of Schools. Welcome, Dr. Rathore. We have with us Meet Shah, National Head, People Link Unified Communications. Welcome, Meet. And to moderate this discussion, we have with us Shobik Goswami, Co-Founder and Chief Group Editor of APAC News Network. Shobik.
What were the challenges, and where do we see the education system going maybe 4 years, 5 years down the line? I must say that 4 years, 5 years down the line, too long a period. The way things are changing fast because of pandemic. Every other day some kind of new innovation is coming, new approach to life, new approach to teaching is coming. So I think we'll try to find answers from all of you on that part. Let me first start with Dr. S.K. Rathore, Founder, Chairman, and Managing Director of Sanford Group of Schools. Mr. Rathore, how do you see the journey of personalized way of learning, and how it is affecting the children? Because you have been handling kids for so many years now, and you have witnessed what happened through the pandemic, and now we are back to new normal. And let's hope that it stays now for a while. So your thoughts on that, sir?
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Savik, for inviting me on this conclave and giving me opportunity to sit along with eminent speakers on the stage. So when I've gone through your agenda in the mail, so the new terminology I come across. So I tried to find out it on Google what I have to speak on. So it was very difficult to find out. So I think this must be, invented by you people only.
Hopefully, thankfully.
See, when we talk about digital or flexible or physical classroom teaching, obviously, the kind of mindset Indian parents have, the kind of system our children has gone through years and years of the schooling. See, there is no replacement of physical classroom teaching. One thing, what I have come across in last quarter itself, last 3 months. See, now nobody is interested in, virtual classroom and virtual learning. One thing. Second, when what is the terminology? I don't remember.
Hyflex. Hybrid and flexible.
Hybrid and flexible. So flexibility in terms of timings of the class. See, now this pandemic has taught everyone education or any meeting could happen anytime, anywhere. So flexibility, we can say that the flexibility will remain in the system forever now. Because today's children are very much, goal oriented, and in many of the cases I have seen lots of, new things coming in the mind of the children, students. So parents come forward now. The parents have n number of questions. I think everybody sitting in this hall witness this. Have n number of questions as far as their technology in the education system is concerned. The kind of technology school is using, what kind of delivery school is going to give using that technology, and what is the output they can expect from it. So lots of things are happening. But still every parent want to make their child as an engineer. IIT करना है या NEET pass करना है. So this is the this is the sad part of the mindset of the Indian parents. Still they are looking for their child to become an IITian or a medical student. So yes, I strongly believe, because I am a technology guy. Before the education I was in technology. So I am a technology guy. So I strongly believe technology has changed the education system in last 2 years of the pandemic. And now technology will change everything in the education system. Maybe 3, 4, 5 years down the line, this terminology what you people have invented, this will come into reality.
Quite an important point shared by you, Mr. Rathod. I'll come back to you. Let's have a different perspective from Dan Curry, Director and Principal of Vega Schools, Gurugram. Otherwise, I'll be bashed, not saying the rightly pronounced name of the city. So, Dan, where do you see the evaluation which has happened last 2-3 years in terms of evidence-based practices, in terms of imparting education to children? Your thoughts on that?
Repeat the question.
Evidence-based education. Where do you see the journey so far, and where do you see we are going towards?
Right. Well, I think it's important that we think of education in terms of this. It's evidence-based, and the topic for today on this hybrid model, I think we've learned good things about what works. We've learned what doesn't work. We've made some real leaps. But the question, as you ask, is how do we make sure that in the context of this hybrid or this online sort of model of delivery, that we're maintaining evidence-based practice. We see a lot of people offering solutions to problems that we hadn't even thought of yet. And so we need to make sure that as educators, we're looking at research-based pedagogies, that we're doing tried, tested, and true approaches and curriculum. We need to be studying brain research, and I think there's been more interest in that. And that rolls over into our students. We want our learners to also make sure that they have a critical mind towards what they see and hear. Now, after the pandemic, they've been at home 2 years. They've had the whole world open to them through the internet. And we need to make sure they have those critical thinking skills to determine the truth of what they're seeing, to understand when they're trying to be persuaded. And I think ultimately, how can you design a hybrid model that shows that kids are doing something and understanding something? So that's a challenge. And honestly, what we've seen is that in the hybrid model, or when we were online for the pandemic, most of the education became fairly traditional, lecture-based, passage of information. Now, online is great for that because you can assign things, you can go learn things on YouTube. That's for transfer of information. But we want to make sure our kids are interacting with the information, they're developing critical thinking, they're solving problems. That's a struggle to do in any kind of hybrid model. So the practices that we're doing and what we see in the NEP as well, they're moving towards very strong pedagogy, very strong instructional practices. And because the research now shows, the evidence shows that memorization does not equal critical thinking or deeper understanding. And no longer in education do we need to just remember bits of information, we have to apply it. So I think there's still a lot of area for growth for developing evidence-based, we only have 2 years of evidence, right, for this pandemic. So developing the best evidence-based responses to this. I think our first speaker said it, nothing can replace kids being in a classroom with the teacher. But there are times that technology can solve problems of distance and solve problems of a transfer of knowledge from specific expertise, connecting with the International Space Station. There's some wonderful things that this can do. But I still think there's room for growth in the online world.
So impediments in critical thinking, that's what you're trying to point out in terms of hybrid blended learning model. Maybe we can see a lot of innovation happening in that front. I'll take a perspective from Meet Shah as well, because he's representing the technology solution providing angle here in this panel. I come to you, Meet, but before that, let's have a perspective from Mr. Bhushan Kumar. He's the regional school director for the North Zone, Z Learn Limited. Mr. Bhushan, your thoughts, as Dan talked about the challenges of critical thinking in terms of evidence-based education. Do you agree with that, or do you have a different perspective to that?
At present, looking at the present scenario in the 21st century, we at ZLearn really look at it critically. There's a lot of back home work which happens. Evidences play a very important role, because that's one of the tools to start measuring the outcome, start measuring what you have achieved, what was possible, what outcome is there on ground, how can we fill in the gap with that analysis. So if that's measurable online using technology, if that's measurable using evidences, using proper rubrics, that's going to add a value, because ultimately teachers have to play a role more than a teacher. That's a mentoring, facilitating, mother in the class, a role model, all that which is required for the 21st century skill building, which we say that we are people in the education field with big heart and great minds. And when I say great minds, it's great school, great future. So we, even sitting in the head office, our main journey starts in the day. It's not, there's no time limitation. We say for the teachers, educators work for 12 hours. We, behind the scene, works for almost 24 hours, 24/7, because anything which can add value to the child is all seen by us. We have started doing back homework. What CBSE says now, or what NEP says 2020, we had been doing for 7-8 years. Last 8 years we have been doing it. That was part of our emerging student profile. We were working on it. Evidences play a very important role. Documentation play a very important role. Even analysis or assessments happening in the class, outside the class, from home, does add a lot of value. There are feedbacks from the students, feedback from the teachers, feedback from the parents, feedback from all the stakeholders. That adds value. Then we are able to measure everything what is happening on ground, and even fill in the gap at the required time, so that the child can progress. The progress card should speak of progress, not the marks. When I'm talking of holistic development, that's very important for us. 4 pillars of learning that I heard in the morning is learning to know, do, live and be. And that's what we live with. And that's important for us, because when we talk about the strategies being followed into the classrooms, the pedagogical instruction designs being followed into the classrooms, of course, that has to be critically designed to see that the child is really growing in the 21st century. More engagement of the child in the classroom, outside the classroom. Even when you say extended home connect, there has to be planned lesson homeworks and a planned timetable for the child, which we normally see it's being followed. There's regular calling, regular connect, and almost care connect, what we say, all C's of learning. When I say care, so for us, I care starts from the time the child is enrolled with us. And to the communication, to the connect, to the collaboration, that's an engagement, building in the conviction, building in that confidence, everyone in the team evolves. If my teacher evolves, it will help my children evolve. So this capacity building training, the maximum number of hours we spend with the teachers after the classrooms get over, is what makes a lot of difference back in the class. That's
Interesting perspective by Mr. Bhushan Kumar. I'll have a different perspective from Dr. Sebastian PG. He's a principal of Christ Academy CBSE School from Bengaluru. Dr. Sebastian, what are the salient features of academic curriculum for the future blended learning? Your thoughts on that?
Thank you, sir. At the very outset, I thank the APAC 4th Global Education and Skill Conclave for having thought of this APAC's platform of thinking about Hyflex mode of, digitized world to which our younger generation is going to face in the near future. I would like to throw some light onto this topic on the basis of my experience as an academician for the past 35 years plus. The very word curriculum emerges from the Latin word currere, that means run. Run where? Run for life. It is nothing but a race. So for that, we have to equip the students to face their life. That should be the ultimate aim in every educationist. Now, if you think from the government agencies, say the Ministry of Education, thank to the Department of Education that they have thought about reviving and making the NEP. So far, this is the third NEP, the education policy that has been formulated by the government of India. The first one being in 1968, the second one in 86. And after 34 years, the government has thought of reviving or modifying the syllabi. That is a good gesture. So with this, or prior to this, we used to teach 19th century concepts for the 21st century children. That is why we were lagging behind. We always speak about the Western countries that are advancing. Why don't we think on those grounds? So for that, we have to try developing a curriculum that should be, with the foresight, what after 10 years, maybe the 22nd century syllabi should be taught in 21st century. There remains, or there stands how developed we are. And as I mentioned, after the coming from the NCF, National Curriculum Framework, formulated by the officials, it is up to the teachers to impart it. Now, for the teachers, whatever is written curriculum, there will be written curriculum, there will be taught curriculum, there will be evaluated curriculum, there will be omitted curriculum, there will be hidden curriculum, evaluated, assessed curriculum. So from the teacher's point of view, this is going at different paradigms. Now, coming to the students' point of view, that is what we have to think. See, thanks to the pandemic, within quotes, I should say that the pandemic has taught the mankind a great lesson. It is only the pandemic that has made everyone tech savvy, including the tiny tots. We were lagging behind as an educationist. I can say it is only because of the pandemic that I am advanced. And in Christ Academy, Bangalore, what the management did was a wonderful step ahead. At that time, the management saw to it that every employee should be a certified tech savvy to face the challenge. Why? Because, the student community are much ahead. So to beat the target, they were equipped. So equipping ourselves is very, very important. Then coming to, teaching as an enjoyable, stream, there should be total experiential learning. We say total experience of learning for life, TELL, TELL. So that should be, seen by the educationists. Now for this, of course, the digital platforms, the companies that are, the software developers or, such companies should come forward and they should equip or have discussions with the policy formulators or the bureaucrats so that such steps can be taken for the future. We always tell education mostly is confined in STEM, science, technology, engineering and mathematics. So if we just reverse it, it becomes METS. That is to say, the mindfulness of the children, the mindfulness of the teachers, the mindfulness of the bureaucrats. Then emotional soundfulness, the children should be equipped, emotionally fit they should be. Then technologically they should be well equipped with and they should be made skillful. So I can say that, we have been teaching the students how to use technology. Instead, we must make them create technology. That should be our outlook. That is what I say. So that way we can make, as the speaker in the morning said, education can be an enjoyable platform for each and everyone, and India can always stand upright among other nations. Thank you.
Making education enjoyable through innovation, if I may say, a crux of what you have said. I'll come back to Dr. Sebastian. Let's have a perspective from a young mind. Kunal Mehra, Indian country head of Crimson Education. Kunal, in this hybrid mode of education or blended mode of education, suppose we are again back to that kind of scenario where we are focusing more on online education, hybrid mode of education, students at their home, schools happening virtually. How do you monitor or evaluate student learning in that kind of scenario?
Sure. Thank you, Souvik, for having me here, and it's a pleasure and an honor to be amongst this panel. Well, I think it's not a what-if scenario that we will be back where students have to be home. And I believe that's not because we will have another wave of COVID, but because I believe truly that learning is moving online. Of course, there are merits in the physical environment, but I believe education is a combination of many experiences. There is the learning experience, there is the social experience, and there are many other experiences, skill building, etc. The learning piece is something that can easily move only online. The social experience, of course, is lacking. You want to be in the same space, in the same classroom. But when it comes to teaching, I believe there is nothing stopping us from moving learning to complete an online scenario. And not because of COVID, but because it's convenient, it's easy, it's scalable, right? Today you have some great teachers who can only teach 50 kids in one classroom and in one period of class. If the same person can be teaching a larger number of audience through technology, why not, right? Now, the interesting question is, of course, of measurability. Now, there are two parts to measuring. One is to measure data, and the other is to measure engagement, right? I believe we've only scraped the surface with technology in the last 2-3 years that we've been online with COVID. We were forced upon this, right? There was not like we wanted to become online. We were forced into it, right? I've been in education for now more than 17 years. I've been in education technology before the word EdTech even came about. And I can say that all we've really done is scrape the surface all of these 20 years. there's a lot more that can happen. I know I'm deviating a little bit, but you asked the panel, where do you see the education technology moving 3 to 4 years or 5 years? And I think we're at the cusp of a pretty big change when it comes to education and technology. So far, it's only been technology, and technology kind of carrying education with us, which is what we've really done is we've put a class teacher on a Zoom or on a Microsoft Teams. We've put 50 people in their homes with their laptops. That's not education technology. I mean, that really isn't technology. I mean, if you think about technology has disrupted so many other sectors in such meaningful and deeper way that if you think that is education technology, then I feel we're way off that mark, right? We've put man on moon, and you can sit at home and order groceries, and we believe that technology is disrupting education because we have someone sitting on a video camera and teaching you. So I think there's a huge way to go for us. In terms of tools, engagement, I think it's a ongoing evolutionary process where as we build these systems, we are building systems to track both quantifiable data as to what students are really doing online, and it's possible to do that in a technology scenario online as opposed to in a physical space. I mean, I've been a teacher in my life, and I've taken classes where I had no idea what was happening in the student's mind, right? Or whether they were really spending any time following up what was being taught in the classroom. But with an online, real-time feedback systems that we can develop, I think there's a long way, we can really fix those issues with technology. When it comes to engagement, I think, again, technology allows us to be able to track how kids are learning, what they're doing, what they're learning. Are we accomplishing the learning outcomes that we set down for a particular concept? And we don't have to wait until an end-term exam or a mid-term exam to do that. There's real-time feedback after every session that you can get to be able to understand. You can use technology in a hybrid way, even in a classroom where you could be where the teacher becomes a facilitator as opposed to being just coming there and writing something on the board. You have pre-work that you can do using lectures or material that you can share before a class and come into the class and actually have a conversation as opposed to, rote learning based learning scenario. And I think, as I said, there's a long way for us to go when it comes to blending hybrid and flexible systems. We've just scraped the surface.
I'll take a cue from what Kunal has said, and I'll come to Meet Shah. He's the National Head, People Link Unified Communications, because I think most of you who have already spoken, all have agreed in one point that there's a long way to go in terms of disruption through technology in its truest form for the education sector. Meet, you're representing a technology company, right? Do you think that it's still a long way to go, or we have covered a long radius already and only a little way to go? Your thoughts on that?
Hello. Yeah, thank you so much for having me on this panel. I have a little different perspective. I respect all the thoughts that the people, the respected panel members have shared here. But at the same time, I would just like to add a couple of my viewpoints on this. Okay, when we talk about Hyflex classrooms, when we talk about technology, when we talk about reaching the mass, right? I see a lot of people, blaming pandemic for, getting into the technology-driven education. Yes. As a solution provider, we've been in this business since last 15 years now, okay, for smart classroom solutions, virtual classroom solutions, unified communication solutions. I can give you hundreds of examples where before the pandemic itself, there were a lot of people who had a vision that I am right now teaching 50 people. I'm right now teaching 100 people. I know I have quality, but I don't have time. I cannot reach everywhere. So we have hundreds of such examples where people have started from 5 virtual classrooms and they've grown up to 150 virtual classrooms in the span of 6 months. What meant for them was imparting the same quality of education to almost 10 times the crowd than what they could do physically. That was, where the vision was coming from. And what I agree is, the pandemic has definitely, it has basically passed on that vision to the mass. That's what pandemic has done for us, right? So it has skyrocketed the requirement of, getting into a virtual classroom or getting into a smart classroom kind of a solution. Yes, it definitely has done that. What we also believe is, necessity is the mother of invention, right? So that's where pandemic has, made everybody feel. There's a basic theory, a need, a want, and a demand, right? So yes. So what pandemic has done is, it has taken one step ahead of even need, want, and demand. It is a necessity now. That's how it is, right? Now, talking about the three major concerns, while, getting into these virtual classrooms or smart classrooms or Hyflex classrooms, as, we now call it, right? The three major concerns is, first thing is, how do we ensure that the quality of education, what is getting imparted to 50 students at one given point of time, the same quality can be maintained for 500 students at one given point of time. That's one of the concerns. Second concerns, since we've got the faculty, I'm sure everybody would agree to me on this, there's a limited faculty available with us. We don't have an unlimited resource in terms of faculty, right? And especially in terms of the quality of faculty, right? So we need to ensure that the quality of lives for the faculty also is taken care of. And the third concern that our prospects or our clients have been sharing with us is the cost. At what cost? When we're talking about teaching 5,000 students at a time, when we're talking about maintaining the lives of the quality of the lives of the faculty, what is going to be the cost that we are going to be incurring on this, right? Both in terms of the cost at an institution level and at the cost at the students level. They should also not be burdened enough, right? These are the major three concerns that the institutions share with us, right? Now, what do they need? Is basically a solution. I'm giving you a bird's eye view, okay? What do they need is basically a solution where the students should feel that they are physically present in the class. Although they are not physically present, they are virtually present, but the students should feel that they are physically present in the class. That's what is, meant by an experience that we create for them, right? And the solution for both the concerns and the needs right now is Hyflex classrooms. When we talk about Hyflex classrooms, there are 5 major components of any Hyflex classrooms. I would just like to put forward, everybody knows this, but just to put it forward in the forum, there are 5 major components in any Hyflex classrooms. One is the software. The biggest contributor is the software. So be it a virtual communication software or a complete LMS software, learning management system. Wherein right from an admission of the student to the final exit of the student, everything is managed online. The examinations are managed online, the meetings, the classrooms are managed online, everything is managed online. Those are the software part of it. The second is the cameras, the quality of the cameras and the high-tech operational functionalities of the cameras in terms of tracking the faculty wherever the faculty is going in the class. Because our faculty is in India specifically, they are habituated to move around in the classroom while teaching the students. So the cameras should be, competent enough or should have the functionality of tracking those faculties and ensuring that the faculty is always in the center of the frame. Otherwise, when we talk about the student, if he doesn't see the faculty in the frame, gone. The whole concentration is gone. The cameras, second part. The third part is the audio, wherein, whatever the faculty is talking, suppose there are few students present in the classroom, the sound should be locally sound reinforced like what is happening right now. The students should be able to hear him clearly. For students who are sitting in the remote locations, they should be able to hear him clearly, and whatever the students are talking back, that should be audible clearly to the faculty and to every student and the students physically present in the classroom also, without any echo, any noise. That's where the audio solution comes into picture. Right? So we've spoken about 3 components: software, camera, and audio. The fourth component in any Hyflex classrooms nowadays is the interactive displays. which is right now replacing the entire whiteboard concept of classrooms. You get 4K level interactive displays where you can just use it for playing your content, for playing your videos, for playing your images, and you can immediately switch to whiteboard, blackboard mode where you can just use a stylus to write whatever you want to write. So that's the fourth most important component of a Hyflex classroom. And the fifth component is a digital podium. Now this is where, see, if you see here, there are a lot of cables which are housed inside the podium. So the classroom should be neat and clean. So everything goes inside the podium. The audio goes inside the podium. The computer goes inside the podium. The display goes inside the podium. The ports of the computers are on the top. So everything is inside the podium, right? That's where the podium plays a major role. And if I talk about our organization, it's been, as I said, it's been 15 years in this business now, and we've launched all the products matching to all these 5 requirements. We've launched the world's first virtual classroom enabled podium with a complete audio solution inbuilt. As I said, we've launched the world's first 4K video conferencing solution and LMS solutions. We've launched the lecturer tracking cameras, automatic lecturer tracking cameras. We've launched the complete audio solution and the software part of it. So when we combine all these 5 components, and we give it to a client, and from the time he starts using it, we've got so many testimonies, we've got so many testimonials where people have shared their pleasure with us, and they've thanked us, and in terms of giving them these solutions, so that they told us that you made our lives easier. That's the final verdict, right? That we want to hear from our clients, that we want to hear from everybody, that you made our lives easier. So that's what the Hyflex classrooms are all meant to hear, right? That these classrooms have made our lives easier. So that's what I would like to just put it on the forum here. And thank you so much.
Thank you. Meet talked about the 5 components according to him, which can transform the classroom experience, be it virtually, especially in the Hyflex model. Interesting. I'll come to Rathod-ji. Mr. Rathod, I just want to have a different perspective on this entire discussion which we're having in terms of Hyflex model, that is hybrid and flexible model. We know access to internet, access to connectivity is still a problem. Not even in tier 2, tier 3 cities, even in tier 1 cities. In some places you cannot even find your mobile network. That's a problem, accessibility. But when we are talking about the Hyflex model, can we see this challenge as an opportunity in terms of there are many students who are not part of the creamy layer, but who wants to attend a good school. Maybe he is unable to go physical to that school. Can this Hyflex model actually transform this entire ball game, which can actually help the entire education ecosystem, not only about the creamy layer of the society, but what about the students who may be studious and meritorious, but they don't have the advantage of going to a renowned school like yours. But can this Hyflex model be a game changer? Some subsidy can be given, that's a policy perspective issue, but I'm not getting into that. But do you think that actually can happen near future?
Yeah, thank you, Souvik. You asked the question what I wanted to speak on.
Oh, that's great.
So I'm very fortunate. See, in 2 years of the pandemic, who were the major, loser, if I talk about the students? The students who were studying in the budget private schools, in the rural areas, government schools even in the cities, even in metros and Bombay, Delhi or any A-grade cities. Because the kind of infrastructure for the online education is required that is not available in the village. I was sitting before this panel there only. So I was trying to access my mail and net was not there. So network problem is in the capital of the country, in the heart of the city, Connaught Place. If the network problem is there at the pin code 1, the network problem can be anywhere. So the main challenge is faced by the children of the rural area, and this is not the problem of the pandemic only. If I go to any place just 50 kilometers from this place, any village, just 50, 60 kilometers from this place, I'll not find even a single school having good teachers. The teachers what we people have in our schools. This is the challenge of the country. See, any teacher who is good in teaching or who is talented, the boy or girl, who find himself or herself up to the mark to the teachers in the cities, A-grade cities, they immediately move to the cities, A-grade cities or B-grade cities, wherever they find the opportunity. So this is the sad part of the education system of our country. Government spendings on the schools, child education is almost equal or in much higher in some cases, some states, than the private schools. But the children are not getting the right education or quality education there. Yes, with the kind of technology we all have, adopted, government again should look into it. Government should relax their requirement of opening a primary school or 10+2 school or middle school. See how many number of rooms we should have, we need to have as per the policies of the board. How many PGTs or TGTs or PRTs, there is no need. They should relax the people who wanted to come forward for the education in the society. A person sitting in my teacher sitting in Greater Noida can take class there in the, for the children in the rural area. This one-to-one, education can happen. Another thing, as my friend said, technology, EdTech is not taking class on the Google Meet or, Zoom. It's very true. See, we need to, LMS, you people, EdTech people need to develop a platform where the, recorded lecture should look like a live lecture basically. The kind of delivery a teacher can have in the classroom, that should be reflected in the recorded lectures also, so that the child sitting at the rural area or budget private school or anywhere where good teachers are not there in the classroom, any teacher can work as facilitator and the quality education could be delivered. So what I feel in the coming years, see, through these kind of platforms, government should also come to know this is the solution, what they should look on. See, I was sitting, last month I was in Lucknow, I was sitting with some very, very senior, educationists. And he was saying, I had a meeting with the Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath, and he was very worried about the, school system in Uttar Pradesh. वहाँ पर बच्चे नहीं हैं, स्कूल खाली पड़े हैं. There is no turnaround of the students. Why children lose their interest in going into the school? Because no education is happening. No environment of school is there. So this need to be taken care. And I think this your Hyflex model or digital or phygital or you name anything, but technology can replace the sad part of today's school education system, and it could be maybe in another 5 years time or 10 years time, the village education may come to the level that education what we are delivering in our school. One thing. Second thing, I look forward for the kind of research-based education in the school system also. School classroom sessions should not be lecture delivered. Children should be asked to attend online recorded sessions at their home, and they should come to the classroom to have the for the problem solving basically. They can ask the question what they find difficult while they are going through the recorded lectures. Then you will see the kind of level of the education system will go up. I think that is the only solution that could happen with the help of technology, with the help of flexibility, because a teacher, doing his or her job in the school in any city cannot deliver the lecture at the same time to the rural area. Evening classes can be taken. So flexibility, digital, flexible, hybrid, everything is going to change the face of the education in the country. This is my belief. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing your thoughts, Dr. S.K. Rathore. Kunal Mehra, your thoughts on that?
Can you just kind of touch
No,
upon?
no, I was just asking that in terms, we know that the access to internet, access to connection is still a problem in many parts of the country.
Yeah.
I was trying to ask you that, do you think that, as Mr. Rathore was saying, that using technology, using hybrid model, flexible model, we can also address the problems of students who are studious or meritorious, but they don't have access to a quality school,
Sure.
can actually get access to quality education by using digital tools? Do you think that that can be done and that can be a game changer for coming years or so? Because I think
yeah.
you pointed out that digital education is not about using a Zoom call or
Correct.
just a video conference, much beyond that.
Correct.
So I think you can also enlighten us on that point as well.
So I think a lot of us have commented about the technology infrastructure not being sufficient right now, but we have to understand it's a evolving process. Today we have 5G. 20 years ago we were paying 20 rupees for a minute of a phone call on a mobile phone. So I think technology problems will get solved. So it's not that today we don't have internet in every village in the country, that it will not happen in the last 20 years. I mean, today if you go, we didn't have electricity in all the villages of the country till 20 years ago. If you go to the most rural areas of the country today, you find electricity. And similarly, I think the same will happen with telecommunication, with internet. Phone networks are now present in more places than not, right? This probably is a bad infrastructure design, therefore we don't have internet here, but otherwise if you step out, I'm sure you'll get good internet. Now, in terms of philosophically, the answer to addressing the problem of access lies in the intersection of education meeting technology. It can't be one over the other. I mean, we've always looked at these two in separate silos. And we still haven't figured out where education and technology meet. Once we figure that out, that is the answer for delivering quality education to the masses at scale. I mean, there is no other way to, look at this problem. There are prime examples of people already doing that. Khan Academy is a wonderful example of somebody which has really democratized education, improved access to education, right? In my own organization, we have kids, we also work with, kids who come from slightly underprivileged backgrounds. We have students sitting somewhere in a small village near Ranchi, working with a teacher who actually graduated from Harvard and sitting in the US and actually interacting with that student. That could not be possible without technology. However, I would say basic that technology is at this moment. So to me, the answer lies there. Of course, it's all an evolution. It's all, work in progress. But that's the future, both from a government point of view, as well as the role the private sector has played in the last many years. It's only going to increase. I don't think we can just pass the buck to the government all the time and say they will have to do it. They will look after the infrastructure, but it's us who has to figure out philosophically how education and technology has to blend together, and how do we leverage technology to deliver quality education to the masses.
Right. Again, interesting perspective of Kunal, that it's not only about government, but also the education stakeholders has to come together to make that difference where technology and education blends well, gel well together to come up with a brighter future. Thanks, Kunal, for enlightening us. Dr. Sebastian, your thoughts on that quickly, 30 seconds to you, because I have been told that we are running short of time, so now I have to play devil's advocate role. So 30 seconds to you, sir.
Yeah, I would like to add on to this point, where network issues are there, CBSE or, the new education policy has envisaged, school complexes or cluster schools, we say. So where, facilities are less. For example, our management has adopted the nearby government schools where facilities are less. So the less fortunate kids should also be lifted up. So it all depends on our mentality and our, helping nature. So that way, and And there lies the importance of Hyflexy digital mode, We have the virtual mode, then the hybrid mode, then comes the Hyflexy mode. For example, in the virtual platform, the students who were unable to listen to the class, what we did was, teachers used to record these sessions and we used to send through YouTube, only for our students, and for the students whom we sponsor. So those students at their free time, they could listen to it and they could clarify their doubts in the next online platform. So here lies, in addition to the Bloom's taxonomy, the low order of thinking thought skills and high order of thinking skills, digital order of thinking skills, dots should also be incorporated with the education system. That is how we can, help the streamlining in this.
Right,
Thank
right.
you.
Thanks, Dr. Sebastian. Again, important, digitally empowered skills, very important. Dan, quickly, your thoughts on the future. 30 seconds to you.
Sure, 30 seconds. It's coming. The future's coming. We're not going to stop it. But I think we can be thoughtful about how we respond when it comes. And again, my question before is about evidence-based practice. We need to not forget the human equation in this. Looking at the evidence of the past 2 years of the pandemic, countries that I've seen research done, and specifically in the U.S., is that over the past 2 years, the amount of reported mental illness in children has skyrocketed. Children have been isolated, they have not been able to develop their social emotional skills, and now we're seeing that in the classroom. They're coming to us 2 years at home, some of them have never been in a school, and first time in school, and they're learning those pieces. So how do we make sure we don't lose that important piece in the social emotional growth of our children and the connectedness that they need as social people, and still leverage what in the old days, we used to call distance learning, and we would mail VHS tapes up to community centers up in the mountains for remote areas, remote towns, and kids would sit down and watch a videotape lecture. I remember when we first started having video calls, it was amazing. It was a real technological wonder and solved a lot of problems for us. So now we've solved some of those access problems. Generally we know how to do that, but how are we going to make sure we address the mental, emotional, social needs of our children in this technological world?
Right. Thanks for being crisp and short, making my life easy. Mr. Bhushan, your thoughts on that, quickly.
Yes. So, one is balancing the education of the child in the classroom, outside the classroom, at home. So if we use the same LMS, same platform which we have already given it in the classroom, the child when goes back has ample time to revise it. Even if the child is absent on a particular day, he can go through the concept, because the concept building videos which are already recorded would help him to go through the video to build in his concept, have a better understanding, and then when he comes back to the class, he's asked to apply it. So there's a lot of project-based learning, lot of research-based activities happening in the class. Engaging the child effectively would make a lot of difference in the time to come, because engagement has to be constructively done, structured well in the pedagogy. And even back at home, you cannot put a 6 hours or a 7 hours timetable. The child requires time to connect to the family, connect to the surrounding, connect to the ecosystem, requires time to play. So technology has to be used optimally, but yes, technology is a value add. We cannot miss it. Of course, pandemic has taught us its necessity, its need, but yes, now we are driving it. So the child or the teacher is always on the driving force. The technology is only a support mechanism to make it better, or enriching for the child, enriching for the teachers also, whether it's capacity building program happening online. So for grade 9 to 12th, what we had done was, even for the enrolled students and for the other students who wanted to be supported, there are recorded lessons and there are weekend classes, Saturday, Sundays. So even if the child has some network issues back at home or so, there is 2 classrooms made ready, so he can come and attend those live classes by experts there. And even teacher training happening on the weekends. so that the normal regular schedule is not being, shifted out. So Hyflex, I say, is the future. The way I look at it is the value add for the future, and is going to help everyone grow in the 21st century, even the mentor and the mentee. Both.
Thanks, Mr. Bhushan Kumar. Quickly, Mitra, I'll end the panel with you. Technology as an enabler, but use technology optimally. Your thoughts on that? Because you represent a technology solution company. Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much. I'll just take a very quick.
30 seconds.
30 seconds. So we see two problems available with us right now, okay? Problem number one is, when we talk about Atmanirbhar Bharat, when we talk about, our race towards becoming a developed country, right? And we, in the morning we heard, from a panelist saying that 70% of India lives in villages, right? So we are talking about a 128, 130 crore population, out of which around 80 crore population lives in villages, right? Now, the quality of the faculty that is available with us and the number of faculty that is available with us is limited, right? And, there are two problems that we face. Okay, problem number one, whether, we do the capacity building of our faculties and increase the number of faculties to that level, wherein, ideally it should be one faculty to 50 students. Right now, if you see the numbers, it will be one faculty to, if you go to villages, it will be one good quality faculty is to almost 5,000 students. That's how the faculty is. So the problem the solution number one is either we raise the bar of the quality of the faculty and the number of good faculties in the country, which is an emerging process, which will take some time, right? And the second is we spend some money on the technology and ensure that the quality that a faculty has, rather than, that quality reaching to 50 students, it reaches to 500 students, that only requires some expenses on the technology, on, getting the towers installed, getting the enhancers installed, getting the solutions installed everywhere, and that is true. So that will take, comparatively much lesser time as compared to developing the faculties, increasing the number of faculties, and getting the capacity building done for those faculties. So I think this solution of, letting technology do its job is going to be helping our country towards becoming an Atmanirbhar Bharat and becoming a developed country as soon as possible. That's what I would like to
wanted to take a answer from all of you except me, because what he has said, ki invest more on technology, whether you all agree to that, but some other day will take answer for this. Thank you so much, all of you. A huge round of applause for all of them. Ms. Kunal Mehra, Dr. Sebastian DG, Bhushan Kumar, Dan Curry, Dr. S.K. Rathore, and Mitra. Thank you so much for joining us today for this wonderful panel on teaching and learning post-pandemic. Is Hyflex model of future? Hybrid and flexible makes it Hyflex. I'm sure that there's still a lot of things can be discussed, a lot of things still remain unanswered, but at least we got a direction that in which direction education is moving towards, like in terms of this new normal, the realities of new normal, which has taught us to leverage technology, balance between technology and physical form, but we can never simply ignore the power of technology. That's a fact. Thank you so much, all of you. Do join us for the next session. It will be industry presentation by Mr. Vijay Kumar T. He's a GM of Business Development Operations, Learning Spiral. So I invite Mr. Vijay Kumar to come on stage, please. But before that, I request all of you to have a group photo, please, together, please. A huge round of applause for the panel, please. Thank you so much.